I want to welcome everybody to this TSFA virtual learning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Amanda. I'm the education assistant here at TSFA. We are pleased to offer these virtual learning hands-on sessions made possible by the Texas Floral Education Underwriters. TSFA's virtual learning will be archived and made available at tsfa.org, located under the TSFA On Demand tab. Today, our guest speaker, Charlie Groppetti AIFD, will be presenting Summer Blooms. Charlie is a floral designer and one of the founding owners of Park Hill Collection based in Little Rock, Arkansas. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. I'll bring them up at the end of the presentation. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Charlie.
First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to the Texas State Floral Education Underwriters. It's with their support that makes virtual learning sessions and really truly all education things through Texas State possible. And I appreciate the opportunity to participate in today's session. I have 9 acres at home. That's about 6 of it's landscaped. And when I chose to do the landscape, I would pick things and plant selections to test and try, or things that I knew that are cuttable. Many of the things I feature today are available through your wholesalers, local, and definitely through your education underwriters. You'll see them on their availability list. You can ask them to bring them in for you, or if you see something today that they don't carry, this is a great way to pull it into the market. If you see something that you don't find available, ask for it. And more than likely, they'll be able to find it or find something that's very comparable. There's lots of similar varieties or textures of materials that are equally as useful. So we're focusing on summer blooms, and we're going to start off this session with what I call summer blonde. The variety of sunflowers are Mrs. Mars and actually a strawberry blonde, which is here. So instead of bright summer yellows, it's more of a coral peach tone. And at the farmer's market, we found these big sunflower heads, and they're not the black seeds or black and white seeds, they're white sunflower seeds. And they're just selling the head chopped off. Now what I use, because they'll slowly dry, is just a cowie pick or one of these kebab skewers, a bamboo skewer, insert it into the stem and place it into your foam. This is done in foam. It's a big farm tub in foam with lots of heavy materials like spaghetti squash, butternut squash. So if you wanted to sell this by the pound, you would be better off. If you'd like to work in chicken wire structure based in this tub, it would certainly be a good way to lighten some of the weight, although I would worry about supporting some of the heavier vegetables. Artichokes are here, same thing with the bamboo skewer. And these are things that will dry slowly, so they'll last as long as the other flowers that are in this. 2 things to point out is the abelia, which is this here, and I'll show you this. It comes with these little white flowers. A lot of the times I just pluck them off, but the color is so beautiful. It's this really on-trend coppery color and a little bit of green, and it holds up beautifully. If you do corsage work or wristlets, it's beautiful because it just glues right into place. It's a great one to have. Peachy hydrangeas are here, which I'm sure you're aware of. Now there are 2 types of peaches. There's a full size, but it also is dwarf. And let's see if I have a dwarf. This is the same thing, just smaller. It's more of a compact shrub. So depending on the scale of flower you need, they're available in 2 different sizes. This has tomatoes, lots of the summer produce, sunflowers, artichokes, tomatoes, sort of a Tuscan feeling. And what I also wanted to add is a few things to finish this out. Really appropriate for buffet piece, a nice display piece. So I have this beautiful bronze dill, And we're just going to start loosening up the structure a little bit by these last placements. There. And I know if you're in Texas, you're familiar with this. This is live oak. And the reason I chose live oak is because it is an imposter for olive. So with the artichokes and the rosemary and this general feeling of this design, it really was going after sort of a Napa Valley look, Mediterranean. So perfect foil for olive, if it's not available, is this live oak. And I'm just going to create more extension. So even though the general mass of the bouquet is here, by these extending branches, we create a lot more value for the customer. And it just gives it more of an artful line. When you're inserting these, you want to look at the direction of the material and the natural growing line. This is a real pretty line, so that's how it's going to go. The next material that's really readily available now is sea oats. Some people call it quaking oats. It has a beautiful little shake to it. Not the shake that we, in the industry where you shake something and it falls off. This has a beautiful movement in that type of shake. And it's another way to create another layer or depth of materials. So you can visually extend this as much as you want with these lightweight materials. It creates more depth and a lot more look. And it starts to loosen up this body. It's fairly traditional in its styling, but when you start to layer and add all these textures, it really starts to take on a unique look. Many of the floral suppliers are, of course, importing, but they're really starting to look to local sources of flowers and flower growers, and especially with field-grown crops like sea oats, dill. This is a beautiful celosia, but it's the plume type. Let me finish this off here. All right. So you can see how we extended this and really increased the value with minimal materials. Here we go. All right. So this is our summer blonde. One other thing to point out was sunflowers. If you have a damage with a raise or damaged, and it looks like someone that got punched in the mouth and missing a tooth, just pluck the petals off, because the centers really become a great texture, and it shows different botanical stages of the plant material. So it's a great way to save and not have any waste. All right, we'll give you a look at this. And I think we could take this one away and make some room for our next session. Oh, hi. Thank you, Mario and Cheryl. On a smaller scale, there's this in the old crockery. Beautiful red zinnias, same basic materials. This is 9 bark, which is a physocarpus. This is coppertina. You can see it has a really nice coppery tip to it. There's some burgundy colors, lots of varieties in this. So this one is a little bit of a challenge because we have such a heavy container and which is weighty to begin with, and not a lot of length to these stems. So we're going to try and make this a little more special. This is porcelain vine, and it just has a beautiful color to it. You can see that beautiful tint. So let me see here, I'll turn this around. I'm going to insert the cut end into the flowers. And then we're just going to sort of wind this around and give it a little different texture. We could take the end, just insert into the flowers. And I think we'll do one more. This is going to give us a little bit more volume to help with the proportion on this. There's some beautiful, the other type of celosia, or what people refer to as the brain coxcomb, is this one. This one is called Persimmon, really vibrant, fiery orange color. And it really looks good with this color zinnia. This is one of my new favorites. It's a beautiful rusty red. It's from the Queen Lime or Tequila Lime series of zinnias. So just to work with the proportion on that, we've taken that Porcelain Vine. It's a beautiful shaded tonal color, and it just gives us a little more wildness to this. This is something, a great everyday base. Clear glass would be beautiful with this. The one thing that's wonderful is this, which is basil. Now, basil is not easily shipped, so you don't see it a lot. This is a great one to grow. This fragrance is beautiful, and when you combine basil and zinnias, you really get the look of summer bloom. It's a great combination. It's so simple, it's kind of crazy. All right, so set this over here a minute. I wanted to do a little bit about bridal bouquets, summer. And I want to talk a little bit about color transitioning. I really like all white, classic white. It's beautiful. It's always a surefire thing. And I also like them to blush. And then I really like to push the color envelope. Where I have trouble as a designer or something that visually doesn't appeal to me is high contrast bouquets, taking a vibrant color and putting it in white. To the eye, it looks good or okay, but when you see photographs in weddings of high contrast bouquets, to me, it looks spotty. So I always try and steer clear of that, either classic white or cream and whites and greens, a blush as a transition from white, and then full-blown color on color on color. So we'll talk about this one first. This is white Peachy Hydrangeas. And basically, all the bouquets, or all the Peachy Hydrangeas I've used today are Peachy Hydrangea, it's Hydrangea, Colada, Limelight. Now, some people think, are they two different varieties? One's white, one's green. They start off white, they start off green, super green, like Limelight, then they turn to white, and then they'll start to get sort of a blush green with a tinge of coral to them. These are the white ones. Now, the next stage of these will turn green. There's a few white roses tucked in just to give you some focus points. And the material that's quite interesting that's wound around is a Clematis. It's a sweet autumn Clematis. And here it is. It's really tough. And actually, in some areas, it could be a noxious weed and take over fields and fences. And it will grow and completely cover up shrubbery, just like kudzu in a way, but not as invasive. And to start this, we have the cut end here. And I just sort of wound it around and created sort of a mass. And then slowly insert the peaches through that, and then the roses. There's only 4 materials: the Clematis, the hydrangeas, the roses, and then I finish it off with magnolia. This will be completely covered in starry white flowers in probably a week or two. There's different stages. It looks masses of like white baby's breath vine, but this one is nice as a greenery with just a few white accents. So that's how that one was done. This is a magnolia, but this is called Little Gem. The tree itself only gets 15 to 20 feet high, much smaller scale. And actually, it's a little more useful, especially in everyday design work in vases or in bouquets, because of the proportion of it. You still get the look of magnolia, but it's a lot more delicate. It's a little easier to use. So Little Gem Magnolia. And that we just tucked around to finish this. All right. Put my clematis away. Isn't that fantastic? Now, color transitioning. This blush palette is so pretty. And the highlights here are the feather type plumosa. The abelia, again, that we used in the first piece is here. And you've seen the sea oats, a few garden roses tucked in that are more of a blush color. They're not so stark white as we hear. And then scented geranium, which I know is readily available. It's just a great way to add fragrance and beautiful texture to your bouquets. And that's all tucked into what started as Peachy Hydrangeas. And of course, no summer blooms bouquet is one without zinnias. This little variety here is a petite little zinnia that grows like crazy. It's Oklahoma salmon, which I love the name. I love the little nod to Oklahoma. State Fair, Oklahoma, they're very old-fashioned varieties. And it's been one of my more dependable varieties that I've grown. And a little bit of the Physocarpus 9-bark right in here to give that final little tint to the greenery. So this is the blush bouquet. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to set these here so you can study them. Now, let's go into something a little more vibrant. This is going to take me a minute. Our peaches, we have zinnias, a few garden roses, this is one we're going to use in a tropical design next, but this is Lorpedulum, beautiful color. And it makes beautiful arching branches. The reason why you don't notice it, because everyone seems to want to trim it into a tight hedge. And when it's not hedged, it is really beautiful. So we're going to use that as a little bit of filler. All right, so we're just going to start this. Nice little tight cluster. I have these beautiful coxcomb here. They really look like velvet. Gosh. And we're going to place those. I'm just placing them at a slight angle, turning the bouquet. So that's where we start, just a big mass. Now there's two opposites here. So we're going to try and pull this all together with our placements. This is a really pretty pink hydrangea. I think this was called Button and Bows. Another very small scale. You can see that's already a bridging color between the green and the burgundy. Oh, nope, they're gone. Now we'll put in the abelia, which is another bridging color, just because the tonality of it. When you're making hand-gathered bouquets, you have to learn just to relax, because if you're uptight, your bouquet is going to look like this uptight bouquet. And it just comes with practice, I guess. Just a few years of practice. All right, this is an interesting shrub. It's a type of Spirea, and let's trim this up a bit. We'll start to add the depth here. Now start creating the layers of this. I love that hot pink flower. Bridal Wreath Spirea is probably the most popular variety. It has large kind of arching branches and white. This one is hot pink and not branching. Total opposite. This is a beautiful chocolate sunflower. And I'm going to tuck it in a little deep because sometimes sunflowers, they need a little support, like a neck brace. So we're just going to nestle it down into there, that celosia. And another chocolate sunflower. Now we'll work on, let's put our roses in. Pretty little garden rose. It's, can't remember the name, but most of the garden roses are the minister's wife, shepherd's daughter, all pastoral names. So I'm sure you can give it a good guess with something like that. It's one of the, this is a David Austin variety. And you can start to see as it's coming together. And I really think that when you're going to the cooler to pick out your, take the thorns off here, they go in a lot easier. When you go into the cooler to pick your flowers out, I really think 90% of the success of your design is happening there when you're picking things out. And then you sort of edit as you go. There we go. Pretty. These are from the Queen Lime series of zinnias. Beautiful color. There we go. And there's a few little small varieties. Let's get rid of that. When I'm tucking these in, I'm just sort of loosening my hand a little bit, just so it goes in. And we're placing those heads so they start to create the depth. All right, let's see. Oh, that's pretty. This is, see the color shift? It's just really pretty. And this sort of corally pink color is a nod back to this. So actually you have a whole procession here from the bride, maid of honor to the bridesmaids. And it's just a very pretty transition of color. There's no jolting color movements. And one thing to remember with COVID, weddings are becoming backyard micro events. And I really like that idea. I think it makes it a lot more special. I always enjoyed as a retail florist, the weddings that were 50 people versus 500. It was just more enjoyable and much more personal. All right. So we're just gonna finish up with placing these. I have a little bit of this left. Now let's try Lorpedulum. Oh yeah. We're just going to create a collar. And the collar actually is, again, a little bit of a support to the whole design. And it just keeps things secure because really these bouquets go through a lot on a wedding day. Pictures beforehand, pictures after, get into church early, arrive in the van. So whenever you could just give that extra bit of security, just makes things more successful. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, we'll clean this up. I have some string somewhere. I'm keeping it really organic, and I'm just using good old-fashioned jute. I'm turning it upside down so everything sort of leans back, and I'm just going to bind it. After this step, you can do ribbon trim. You can do whatever you like to it. It could be the most simple and primitive to the most elaborate stitching that you could ever want. We'll take this. We'll cut everything nice and even. So this is your summer blooms bouquet. Let's see at that. Yeah, hope you like that. I think it's really pretty. Looks good here in person. The lighting might be a bit shocking on the roses, but they're really more subdued than that. So here's your 3 transitions from classic white blush to full-blown color. All right, let's take these away and we'll keep moving along here. Thank you. All right. Oh gosh. Amanda, are we okay on time?
We're doing all right. We have maybe about 10 more minutes.
Okay, speed. All right, I like to take summer flowers and make them look tropical or subtropical. You know, pool parties. And, you know, I've had pretty good luck with papaya. And so they love the camera. So we're just going to rest this here. I take a bamboo skewer, put it through. I cut it a little above, and then just sort of tap it in so you can't see it. We'll do the same on the other side. And remarkably, they hold up really well. This is something you'd want to do for a buffet, a party. I think for a pool party, oh, it'd be beautiful. I'm just going to skewer that through there. And okay. And we go to the flea market and buy these for like $1 each. Now, of course, if the cheaper they are, the riper they are. So just remember, if you're going to use them right away, you can. This is bamboo. And what I have to put in them are these beautiful pitcher plants. Don't forget, plants can be used in designs as well. Whether you bring plants in and you snip off a few leaves, or you just totally sacrifice a plant for the foliage. We're going to use prayer plant, which has got a beautiful pattern. And a little bit of coleus, just to give it some color. Coleus is readily available in the summer, and it's inexpensive, and actually probably root right in place. Another plant that we trimmed off, this is a pitcher plant, and you can do water in bamboo, or you can put water picks. This extension of the bamboo is also great for like dendrobium orchids, things that only take a little bit of water. So if you have a party and you need just pick some bamboo and use it as an extension. And it's a great way to get more look. All right, I'm looking for Abelia. Here we go. So here is a nice frothy Abelia that we had, but also it comes like this, where it's very clustered. And just going to give us a nice landing point. Nice little base to bring you into the design. All right. All right. This is smoke bush or smoke tree. And this one, you can get it in these very regimented, beautiful, straight pieces. This one is a crazy one that I had at home. And we're just going to use these curves to kind of inspire us. This is where you really need to check the direction of your materials. Yeah, crazy. And use them to their best advantage. Huh, interesting. I think we're gonna sort of mirror this side. Yeah. Okay. I'll turn that around in a moment for you. And then the next thing we're going to use is some white ginger. It's a great foliage. And a designer friend of mine once used corn stalks in a very tropical design. And when you think of corn stalks, they're really a giant grass. So she could really pull it off. And it worked. So don't look at it as corn, but look at it as a texture and a material. But this is white ginger. Oh. And a frog just jumped out, a beautiful green frog. All right. This is what we have so far of the structure. And I think what I'll do, for time's sake, is I will come around and finish this side for you.
Charlie, everyone is enjoying this very much. So
yes.
Take a little bit more time if you must.
Okay.
I want to see your gorgeous work.
All right. We're going to let the PG really pop up there. There's an old saying that always use three, which is true. It always balances nicely. And it works. You can balance with two, but it's just more of a challenge. I love the bright green of the Limelight with that ginger foliage. And the ginger foliage is really just beautiful. All right. This one is a rare. It's called a cardboard palm, and it's a great house plant. So when you're supporting when you're looking to buy things from your vendors that support Texas State, I know there's a couple of really great plant vendors. And that might be a really good one. It's an unusual plant, but it's great to see. All right. Let's see. I'm going to grab some celosia. Which to me really looks exotic on its own. We're just going to go with the curve of this. The one thing you'll find about field-grown crops, that they have their own sort of line to them. And for all these vintage styles that are going around, you need the dependability of commercially grown crops. But to get that soft curvilinear lines, like we're seeing the Hogarth curve come back, to really achieve that, you need natural materials. So it's really important to be open to mixing the two. And whereas we use celosia in the earlier bouquets as something a little more country or domestic, Mediterranean, here we use it in a more subtropical look. All right, here's the Abelia again. And this is how Abelia looks in a natural form. And here's the little white flowers that I plucked off. So we're going to use it as a really quick filler. Holds it beautifully, and it fills in very quickly. There we go. All right. Let me take a quick look at this. All right. Huh. I think that's enough of that. Enough of that. Gosh, let's see. This is another type of celosia. It's Carmine, and it is so intense. I expect it to burst into flames at any time. What we're going to do is just tuck a little bit in here for some depth and balance out the other celosia. And really, when you cut these off short, you really start to see the texture of the head. And really, why would you want to use celosia up here when really it's pretty when you look down on it? That's where it shines. So when you're using material, think about where it's going to go. And we're just going to catch your eye here and slowly work you in to the focal point, to the papaya. We get one more. I want to make sure and have time for questions, so I don't want to hog all the time. Now, you certainly could go back in at zinnias and things like that, but so to ensure that we have plenty of time for questions, this is your general outline. I really wanted you to take home the idea of the bamboo as an extension for short flowers or orchids, and then using garden flowers, they're typically garden flowers, as something that's more exotic and tropical looking, especially when you combine things like pineapples, mangoes, papayas. All right, so Cheryl and Mario, you can take this one. I am ready.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. That was a wonderful presentation.
I appreciate it. That is fast. 30 minutes is super fast. While we're on the subject of education, there's one thing I want to point out, that TSFA and the Texas State Florist Association and the American Institute of Floral Designers, AIFD Foundation, they're all about education. And there are scholarships and experiences that you need to check out. I know there's about 3 hours left for applications for Texas State scholarships. You have 3 hours. You should check into it. If you go to tsfa.org, look at scholarships and educational opportunities, check it out on their website. That one has a quick deadline, but I really wanted to mention it to you because there's some great opportunities for continuing education and career building. And then September 30th is the AIFD Foundation scholarships. So you have a little more time. There are so many scholarships available to all levels of design, whether you're a student, professional, and everywhere in between. They're great opportunities, and you really need to take advantage of them because they really support education, and they're really great opportunities for you to take advantage of. All right.
All right. And some of the comparable product that Charlie had today, we do want to thank our underwriters. They have helped us provide these virtual learning sessions for everyone to watch and look at and enjoy, and hopefully learn a few tips and tricks. So we really appreciate our underwriters for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know many of these, and when I've traveled to Texas or I've been to other branches of some of these national suppliers, incredible product. And when you see it in mass, it's wonderful. And when you go out and try and cut your own, and you have to deal with dust and bugs and heat and rain and 100% humidity, that flower cooler at the wholesaler is going to be that much better. And you'll think, these are a deal. The one thing by learning and cutting and gathering, you realize how much work and effort it goes in to bring those products to the wholesalers. And with me, it just gives me a bigger appreciation for what they do and for the beauty and the value of the products they provide to us. Really lucky.
All right, Charlie, and everybody, if you guys have any questions, please type them in the box now. I will ask them to Charlie and we can answer a few while we still have him. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap up. So let's see if you guys have anything. Not that I'm aware of. I know everyone's very appreciative of your work, Charlie. You got a lot of great comments here.
Thank you. Yeah, I love questions because they make me think. They keep me from losing my mind because I have a 7-year-old that asks me all kinds of things. So I'm ready for any kind of question. So
okay.
I hope you have some.
We do have one person that is asking a question. They came in a little bit late. They were wanting to know, the first one had a mushroom in it, the first display that you had.
Oh, that was sunflower heads. Tomatoes were hanging off the edge. That was the summer blonde. They were actually white sunflower heads, and they're big white creamy masses. There was also spaghetti squash or butternut squash tucked into there. It may have looked like a big tree conch, which is interesting. It's a similar texture because it's such a big flat head. But that was, I believe, what you're thinking of were the sunflower heads. Then they're white sunflower seeds.
All right. I think that's it. We just had the one question.
That's it? Oh my
that's
gosh.
all we had right here. You did a wonderful job teaching everything, and your showcase of your work was brilliant.
Well, thank you. I know we're doing this again for fall and for Christmas. So if you have any requests of something you want to cover, contact Amanda and we can work it into the program. I'm always open for requests. If you don't have any questions, I'll take requests. So look for that. If you go to the tsfa.org, there's a whole schedule. And it's not just me. There's way more talented people than I ever wished to be on this roster of people. I looked today, and Laura Dowling, who was the White House florist, is on there. She has books, really talented, and her sense of color is just otherworldly. She does beautiful things. If you're interested in more from me, you can follow me on Facebook. There's a weekly or bi-weekly little tutorial that covers a lot of the same styles and philosophies we talked about today. And some of the things we covered today, you can go back and learn from that as well. And I know this presentation will be archived, so you can go to tsfa.org at any time and see the previous presenters as well as any of the others will be archived there for you on demand.
We did have another question, Charlie, and I missed it, and I apologize. Barbara, let's see if I can find it here. Oh, how do you process the flowers from the garden?
What I do is I have a little trailer I pull around. I have buckets of fresh water, clean buckets, fresh water. I cut them early in the morning because they're cool in the morning. They have the most water content. If you try and cut during the heat of the day, you're going to have a wilted mess on your hand. It could work, but it's just a lot more difficult. So really, I go out, harvest, and I walk to my wagon. I give them a fresh cut, and I put them into the wagon. Once that's full, and before it gets too hot, I take them into a cool room. None of these have been refrigerated, and sometimes with zinnias, actually, sometimes too much refrigeration is actually harmful. They'll do great in a cool room, and I've had zinnias last for 2 to 3 weeks in deep water in like bottles in a cool room in the summertime. A product that I know your suppliers carry is Quick Dip, and it's just a hydrating solution. You give a fresh cut, dip it into the solution, put it into the bucket of water. I've had great success with that. Things like hydrangeas, and it just opens up the water conducting vessels, gives them a little shock, and they will take water up more readily. It's a really good product to use, and I would certainly recommend that as well.
All right, I think we are going to go ahead and end our session today. Charlie, thank you again. Thank you everybody for joining us and watching us. We're going to archive this afternoon. It'll probably be available Saturday for viewing for those that did miss it and didn't join us today. And we will see you all next time.